Demario Davis talks Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator search, and key free agents on the defensive side. And we're joined by Amie Just to break it all down even further. We got all that and a little bit of lanyard for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Saints, your daily podcast covering the New Orleans Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks as always, making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget that we are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube as well. And I'm your host, Ross Jackson, at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter, Canal Street Chronicles, Locked On NFL, and here with you every single Monday through Friday on Locked On Saints. And today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends over at Get Upside. Download the free app wherever you get your apps and use the promo code touchdown so you can save 25 cents back per gallon or more on your first fill up next time you hit the gas station. Y'all, we have a bunch of interviews to share with you today. I'm going to be joined in just a moment by the one, the only, the lovely Amie Just of the New Orleans Advocate Times Picayune. We're going to talk coaching staff. We're going to talk offensive coordinator search, free agents, all of that. We're going to hit the same topics with Demario Davis. Got to check in with him at a charitable event that he was doing here at Super Bowl Radio Row, and we're going to wrap up with more about that event. So we have all of that coming up for you throughout today's show. Let's get started with Amie Just. Let's start with kind of the big news here, which is, of course, the New Orleans Saints head coaching search. Sean Payton has stepped away. They moved to Dennis Allen, moved him up from defensive coordinator. This kind of felt like this is what it was going to be from the very beginning, right?
Yeah, it felt from the jump that it was his job to lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to discount any of the other candidates.
Of course.
I would have been happy with any of them, frankly. But he knows the system. He's been around. They don't want to do a complete culture change. They don't want to, blow everything up.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, was it the safe pick? Yes, but it also, depending on how you look at it, right, keeps things in place.
Yeah. Would you say that the coaching search was extensive? That was something that Mickey Loomis said that they wanted to do, right? They wanted the familiarity with the roster. They wanted the head coaching experience, but that they still wanted to have an extensive coaching search. I felt like they did that. Do you?
Yeah, I do. They, if I recall correctly, they interviewed 5 in 2006. Granted, that was a very different situation than it is now. Arguably, the Saints in this coaching carousel was the most attractive job, right? But yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I do.
I made that same point too, and so I want to talk about that a little bit. The idea that the Saints job was the most attractive of the 8 or 9 that were open this offseason. What makes you believe that?
Yeah, it's a winning team. Yes, there are huge questions, right? Who's your quarterback, number one?
Right.
And the cap situation can scare some people off. They manage things a little different than most other places. But the continuity, the success, they almost made the playoffs last year, this year. And,
I know. It feels like it was last year.
It's been a year, y'all. It's been a year. And so for this, no Drew, lots of injuries, hurricane evacuation, COVID year 2.0, they made it to the playoffs 4 straight years.
Yeah.
And had the highest winning percentage for any team over the past 4 years in the regular season. So I think that is attractive.
Yeah.
You have an incredibly stacked defense. Granted, there are some guys, free agency happens every year, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think that the pieces are in place where you don't have to do a complete rebuild here.
Yeah.
And I think that is what makes this job more attractive than the other ones.
Yeah. Specifically highlighting the defense, which feels like maybe, would it be wrong of me to say the defense seems to have more pieces in place in the offense right now, or maybe larger pieces? I guess the quarterback position is the one that obviously raises that question mark.
It feels like it, right? It feels like the defense is more put together. Because you look on offense, and there were so many injuries last year. I mean, Michael Thomas never played because of his injury situation. You have Jameis going down. They started 4 different quarterbacks. Alvin got hurt a lot, and we're still waiting to figure out what happens there. Offensive line, they started 11 different combinations this season? 10, 11. So you had your tackles, both of them missing for a long time, and the list goes on, right? Revolving door wide receiver, new faces with tight ends. Yeah.
Feels like it for sure. And so when you look at both what offense and defense, what's available, now you have an offensive coordinator position that is open with Pete Carmichael remaining with the staff but not as OC. And then the defensive coordinator spot, of course, is inherently open with having elevated Demario Davis. Dennis Allen.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun too, don't get me wrong. Those are great interviews. But with those defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator spots, does it feel like internal candidates have the upper hand there, or could this be where an external candidate comes into play?
Yeah, I feel like the Saints have two very talented and capable guys on staff, right? And Kris Richard and Ryan Nielsen.
Of course.
Will they look outside? Yes, because they have to, right? In order to conduct a proper search, you have to do that.
Yep.
But I feel like both of those guys would be well equipped to do that job.
Yeah, and you're going to hear a little bit more from Demario Davis about his thoughts on the defensive coordinator position. On the offensive coordinator spot, maybe not as clear-cut in terms of internal candidates. Maybe a Ronald Curry opportunity there, somebody that they really like. But outside of him, doesn't feel like there's a lot of OC candidates in the building. Maybe that's one that they certainly have a more extensive external opportunity.
Yeah, I would think so. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
And that's the part about the Dennis Allen hire that I'm waiting to pass my judgment, because I don't know what his offensive plan is.
Right.
And I want to see who he picks as offensive coordinator, how that's going to work. Just because we in New Orleans have had an offensive-minded head coach for quite a long time. So I'm interested to see how things change or how they stay the same moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Amie Just at Amie_Just on Twitter, New Orleans Advocate Times Picayune. The noises you hear in the back are all Pat McAfee related. They're not cheering for us.
Yeah,
but I'd love for them to. I'd love to pretend like they are. I will say that.
We can pretend.
Yeah,
but
so.
Definitely not for us.
Last thing for you, Jameis Winston. Dennis Allen said that priority number one was figuring out the quarterback situation. And so I imagine that even though they'll probably fill the offensive coordinator role first, that's still with an eye towards what they want to do at quarterback. What seems most likely at the quarterback spot, or really like the possibilities that could be there for them?
Well, you look at the free agent pool of quarterbacks, and there's not a lot there.
Right.
There's not. So it truly depends on your philosophy. Do you want to build young through the draft? But again, this isn't like the classes of years past.
Right.
There's only a couple guys, and you can make the argument that they're not as talented as some of the guys that have come out in previous years. It truly depends on how you look at them. So if you want a veteran, or if you want young, but you've got to look at the trade market too.
Yeah.
You have to look and see who's available. Just because it might not work out, you still have to try.
Yeah.
And the Saints definitely, they go about things. They leave no stone unturned, and I think that's going to be the case here.
Yeah.
But I think the offensive coordinator getting involved, whoever that is, once they get hired, I think that will have an effect on what the Saints do.
Extensive head coaching search, extensive coordinator searches, extensive quarterback search. That all seems to add up in terms of what it is that we'll see from the New Orleans Saints. And it has already been an extensive offseason. And Amie, we are forever grateful for all of your work in terms of making everything so accessible and so digestible. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today on the show.
Thank you.
All right, y'all, coming up next, we're going to hear from Demario Davis, New Orleans Saints linebacker. He's going to talk a little bit about defensive coordinator, where he thinks that defensive coordinator is going to come from, and, of course, talk a little bit about Dennis Allen as well. We're going to get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, I want to tell you about the Get Upside app, the best app you're ever going to download. It's the Get Upside app. You can get it for free wherever you get your apps, App Store, Google Play, wherever. And basically, it's super simple. You go to a select gas station, you fill up. We're here in Los Angeles. Gas is like $5 a gallon. gallon here. I literally paid $5.09 a gallon the other day. It was too much for me. But I had my Get Upside app. I was able to take a picture of my receipt and then end up getting cash back to an account that I can pull out whenever I want. I can get it deposited directly to my bank account, PayPal, or like an Amazon brand gift card, stuff like that. And don't forget, if you're downloading the app for the first time, to use the promo code TOUCHDOWN so you can save 25 cents back per gallon or more on that first fill up. Once again, it's the Get Upside app. Promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents back or more per gallon on your first fill up. And with that extra money, you can have a little bit of extra fun over at betonline.net. Lots of lines, lots of odds, lots of props that you can get in on. Is somebody going to do the Icky Shuffle during the Super Bowl? Is there going to be a touchdown drive that's longer than the national anthem or shorter than the national anthem? There's a ton of stuff that you can bet on over at BetOnline. There are ridiculous Super Bowl props, ridiculously fun Super Bowl props that you can get into. You can even bet on Eminem's hair color if you would like to. There's a ton for you to get in on. True, you can do that. So head over to betonline.net. Don't miss out on all of the fantastic options and fantastic deals that they have for you throughout the 2022 season with the Super Bowl right around the corner. It's betonline.net, where the game starts. All right, family, continuing on with another episode of Locked On Saints. Thanks so much for making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day. Diving in now to Demario Davis's interview. We got to speak with him while he was working with the Player Coalition as well as Cafe Momentum here in Los Angeles. Fantastic organization, fantastic fun, and he still gave us some time to talk to him about the New Orleans Saints. So we asked him a bunch of questions about the New Orleans Saints elevating Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator search, key free agents. Here's what he had to share with us.
New head coach. What was your reaction to that? How'd you find out? What does that mean to you that he's getting this opportunity?
Man, I think they made a great choice. And when you look at how things happened and transpired, we have a good team in place where he's stepping into a situation where he doesn't have to change a bunch of things. That's a good situation, and you want to hire in-house when you have that kind of setup. And they did that, and I think they got the right man for the job, not just because he was in-house, but he has the experience. He's more than qualified. He did a phenomenal job in the year when he stepped in as a head coach. So just excited, and it's his time now. We don't know how much of it will look the same, how much of it will look different. I don't think too much will change, but I mean, it's his time now. It's his team, and so interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah. How, as someone who's played for him for a while, how would you describe his leadership style?
Very clear and direct. He sets very clear goals and expectations, and he holds us accountable to that. And phenomenal coach in the regard of he's an expert planner. He knows how to take teams' best things away from a defensive standpoint, and he puts us in a situation to win. And literally every game that we've gone in, all we've had to do is go in and execute what he's asked us to do, and that gave us our best chance of winning.
Did that Bucs game feel like the lead into that and kind of give you an insight as to what he could potentially be like as a head coach? It's a 1 week thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge a coach off 1 week or 2 weeks, but I think even before then, he's been poised and ready. He was the head coach before. He stepped away from head coaching or went to a defensive coordinator, and he learned from it. I've had conversations with him of what he would do different if he was a head coach again, and I think he's poised and ready. And so this second go round probably gonna be a lot better than the first.
Now that he's promoted up there, you're going to be looking for another defensive coordinator in the room. There's a couple of internal guys like Ryan Nielsen, Kris Richard. How'd you feel about either one of those guys getting opportunities? They're highly regarded.
Yeah, and the big thing, I don't think DA is going to turn over his defense, so it's probably going to be an in-house decision because he's going to be still heavily involved.
Trey Henderson is playing on Sunday. I mean, and Gaunt and Eli. I mean, what does it mean to you to see guys that you played with? They're playing on the big stage now.
I'm super happy for those guys. I mean, the thing about locker rooms that's the best is the brotherhood that you form when you're inside them. And so, man, I'm rooting for those guys so hard because I played with Trey, I played with Bud, I played with Eli. I don't know all the trash talk that Eli doing, all the disrespect he doing in New Orleans. He's going to have to pipe that down. But other than that, man, definitely happy to see those guys in this game, man, and rooting for them.
When it comes to Marcus Williams, big free agent going into this offseason, what would it mean to keep him around as a part of that defense?
Oh, man. Marcus Williams is, one of the best safeties in the game. And I don't think there's a player out there that has more range than him. I mean, he has the production to back it up. So I think we do. I hope we do everything in our power to hold on to him.
Juan's another one.
Yeah.
Who's a free agent. What has he meant to you the last couple of years?
Oh man, that's my guy, man. Like folks don't even realize on the field and off the field, we're pretty much best friends. You know, we just speak a common language. We understand each other, and so whenever I step out on the field, I want my brother beside me, and so gotta have him.
And PJ Williams is also a free agent.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 years ago, he hadn't played safety since high school, but now he's doing all of the things. Just how important has his development been in that area for your defense?
Well, now you're getting into how hard it is as a coach and a GM to figure out like how you keep all your guys. Of course, we want all our guys back, and PJ is another one. I mean, he's such an asset because he can play so many positions at a starting level, which is rare. He can play outside corner, he can play inside corner, he can play safety. And you just don't have a lot of guys that can do all that. And you know, that's definitely a skill set that you want to keep in your locker room. It's almost like a must to keep in your locker room.
Saints added Pete Werner, rookie linebacker out of Ohio State. How was his development been? You got to see it firsthand up until he started in that Miami game.
Man, Pete, the sky's the limit for Pete. I mean, he's a phenomenal football player, great instincts, loves to hit a physical linebacker. He can run, he can cover, he can rush the passer. He has all the tools to be successful. I feel like he learned a lot in year one. I think if he takes that learning that he did in year one and brings it to year two, you're going to see him grow by leaps and bounds and build on top of a great first year. So, I mean, he was phenomenal in year one. I was thoroughly impressed. I'll be honest, I didn't think he was going to be that level of a player that he was in year one. So he definitely turned some heads, man, and I'm excited for the career that he can have.
All right, y'all. So that's what Demario Davis had to share with us on what's going on and sort of the future trajectory of the New Orleans Saints. Lots of great insight there. Loved hearing his idea about the defensive coordinator coming from in-house. You heard Amie and I talking about that early on. And by the way, you also heard Amie's voice in that interview because she and I were the ones that were asking questions throughout all that. And so it makes a lot of sense, right? The defensive coordinator role as opposed to the offensive coordinator role feels like one that's primed to come from inside the organization. And obviously with Mickey Loomis and the New Orleans Saints having such a sort of a focus of attention on cohesion, continuity, all those words that you've heard us talk about over the course of the past few weeks, that certainly makes a ton of sense as well. So we'll continue to see. They brought in Aubrey Pleasant as a potential interview. Carries in intensity, is somebody that's a former player, somebody that hasn't had a lot of experience calling plays, which could work since Dennis Allen wants to call the defensive plays. There's sort of a synergy there. So we'll see what it is that the New Orleans Saints do, but it seems like there's an expectation that it might be coming from within the organization, that next piece. Now, we're going to get to more with Demario Davis. Wanted to talk to him about his charitable efforts. He's done a lot of things that have impacted you as well around the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana. So we're ready to get to that here in just a moment as we continue on and wrap up today's episode of Locked On Saints. But before we get to that, I want to remind you about our friends over at Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. The protein bar that tastes like a candy bar and in fact actually beats candy bars in blind taste testing every now and then as well. So they have been putting it all together. They figured out the formula, how to give you something healthy, something delicious, while it's still covered in 100% chocolate. And if you haven't tried them yet, there's also the Built Puffs as well. They're marshmallow bars that are protein-packed, also covered in 100% chocolate. You can get stuff like cinnamon, for instance, or cinnamony churro flavors, a ton of really cool stuff that you can get in on over at Built.com. Make sure you go and check them out for the protein bars and all of their other products as well. Once again, that's Built.com. About 130 calories, 17 grams of protein, with only 4 or 5 grams of sugar and net carbs. And I'm going to help you out here. You can use the promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15. Use the numerals so you can get 15% off over at Built.com. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. Wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Saints with one more interview that we did with Demario Davis, him talking about his charitable efforts in and outside of the city of New Orleans, what he was doing here in Los Angeles, and more on the way. We're going to have some extra stuff coming over this weekend as well, because there's another event that he's a huge part of. But here's what he had to say about the way that he loves to impact the community, why he loves to impact the community the way that he does, and why it's so impactful, why he feels the responsibility.
This event kind of come to be, like, obviously there's a ton of charity work in the Super Bowl, but it takes time to put this together. So I don't know, it's going to be
Player Coalition has been working with Cafe for Momentum for quite a few years now. It's just one of the main pillars of our youth justice initiative, and what they're doing for youth justice and curbing the system is just phenomenal, and it's an honor for us to be able to support them and to be able to partner with them and what they're doing. When you look at how youth are impacted in our country, the U.S. incarcerates youth higher than anywhere else in the world. 2,000 youth are going to jail every day. 700,000 youth are incarcerated a year, and that's just a problem. And so we need to look at ways, and 80% of the youth that are incarcerated are on nonviolent offenses. And so with that happening, jail is supposed to be a place for, of course, punishing, but also to create safety. And if a lot of these offenses are nonviolent, we need to be looking at ways that we can help our youth. We already know that our youth are not at the height of brain development, and so if we're putting them inside of cages in harsh conditions, what are we doing in our society? And so we need to look at ways that are teaching and curbing our youth when they get into trouble. And so we do know the trouble is going to happen with youth, and we do know the discipline needs to happen, but how do we curb that? And Cafe Momentum understands that. They are taking youth who've been impacted and teaching them skills and trades in the form of fine dining, and how to have a skill in that, whether it's cooking, whether it's serving, whether it's working in these 5-star restaurants. And now they have a skill set, and looking at how their lives have changed and how this dramatically impacts them in a way that transforms their thinking. It gives them hope, and we know that when kids have hope, they tend to do better things and have positive outcomes. And that's what we want to be able to create. So it's a whole wraparound service that they do in providing curriculum for them, providing training for them, providing them with mentors, providing them with resources such as teaching them financial literacy, helping them get jobs after they leave the program, helping them with housing and all these different things. That's what we need to be looking at in all of our programming when people are impacted by the system. We know that we are the most incarcerated place in the country, the world, and we need to look at how do we better bring individuals back home when they've been impacted by the system, and how we can do things to prevent them from ever being impacted by the system.
When did you first learn about
So Cafe Momentum, I think I initially learned about it maybe 3 Super Bowls ago. That was my first Cafe Momentum event. When I went in, when I saw the youth serving, the youth were the chefs, and all these kids have been impacted by the system. And here they were presenting us with a fine meal. All of them were handling themselves in a professional manner. All of them were leading from the front. All of them had these unique skill sets to cook these fine dishes, to know how to serve, to know how to wait the tables. It was just amazing. And then to hear their stories and their platform and how much the program meant to them, I was all in out there.
How much does your path just help you connect more with the kids who are working with, and you can relate to them in a very real, tangible way?
Yeah, I think my story is a plain example of that, of how important it is to not throw individuals away once they get into trouble. I was a kid who went to jail, and my path could have looked much different in life had I not got a second chance with my coach. My coach giving me a second chance, and him giving me a second chance, I was able to make good on that, and here I am now. And so my life could have looked way different had I just been thrown away with the system, which could have very easily happened if I hadn't been a scholarship athlete in college. And I think it's important to understand that I got a second chance, but for a lot of these kids, it's their first chance of having some real structure and guidance in their life. And when you come from homes where the parents aren't there, or you in these drug-infested environments, and you're really just trying to survive every day, you're likely to end up into some trouble. And if you can get into some trouble and end up in a program like this, sometimes it's the first chance where you've had someone pouring in resources to you, teaching you financial literacy, teaching you decision making, teaching you how to apply for a job, teaching you interview skills, teaching you real skill sets that you need because you just haven't had that before. And I think we just need to understand that. And so, yes, me having gone through it definitely position me in a way that I can understand and use my platform in a way to like highlight and bring more attention around individuals who've been impacted by the system who may not have had that voice.
It takes a lot of sort of personal energy to be able to take a story like yours and convert it, utilize it in such a way to where you're impacting people in a positive manner, especially in a situation where you're talking about communities that are disproportionately affected by all of these policies. How do you keep that up for yourself, knowing the way that you're impacting others?
Well, I believe to whom much is given, much is required. And we have these tremendous platforms. And yeah, it's great to be able to go out and play the game that I love, to be able to acquire a bunch of resources for myself and my family. But there are a lot of people who have gone through similar things that I've gone through, or that have no one to speak out for them. And if we don't use our platform to highlight and shine a light on it, who will? And so, I just believe that, as human beings, our responsibility is to humanity. And so it's to look out for our neighbors who are beside us and the voiceless, the oppressed, people that are in negative situations. It's our responsibility to lend a helping hand if we can. And so that's what I just try to do, is try to use my platform, and we use our platform as players to highlight issues that are going on in our country. Everyone knows that there are problems going on, but who are going to be the solution providers, right? And then when we find real solutions, such as this one, such as Cafe Momentum, how do we highlight that in a way that we bring more awareness to it, but also scale it into other markets? And the goal of Cafe Momentum is to be in 10 markets by 2025, and we want to help see that come to fruition.
Do you have an idea of the next cities already?
I do not know. You probably have to talk to Chad what those next cities are, but hopefully New Orleans is one of them.
Yeah, that's a follow-up question. Like, New Orleans is one of the disproportionately affected cities.
We have to bring it to New Orleans.
I know you've done a lot of other work around, in terms of prison pipelines and that within New Orleans, working on the voting rights situations for folks that are incarcerated and nonviolent offenses and things like that. Is that work you're continuing to do as well?
Yes, of course. I mean, we've had some major wins in New Orleans, just in lending our voices to the platform, in restoring voting rights and ending a non-unanimous jury, which has been huge. But I think ultimately my goal is to work in spaces that help close the racial wealth equity divide. And all of these spaces are interconnected. And I feel like if we can find ways to create solutions in things that didn't happen in our country, such as the Reconstruction era, we never finished that. So if we can find ways to change communities from a socioeconomic standpoint, when you look at the average white family in our country makes $172,000 a year, and the average black family is $14,000 a year. That's a huge gap. And when you have that type of gap, all these other problems are going to stem, like the digital divide, the health issues, violence in communities, and mass incarceration rates. When you start to work on the main thing, which is balancing out the books and creating more balanced socioeconomic statuses, you're going to create a lot more solutions. And so I'm much more of a root-oriented person. Let's deal with the roots versus just dealing with all the symptoms.
Not a lot of folks do it the way that Demario Davis does on the field and off the field. Gotta love every bit of that aspect of that guy. I mean, just outstanding. We're going to have more about some of his charitable efforts next week. I'm going to be attending an event on Friday night to make sure that we're kind of seeing this all the way through and talking more about the things that he's doing to help impact communities and impact, in particular, in this instance, children who have been incarcerated, nonviolent offenses, things like that. So lots of great stuff on the way there, and lots of great stuff for you to make sure that you're continuing to tune in on here throughout the Locked On Saints podcast. I appreciate you as always making it your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget that we are available on all platforms, including on YouTube as well. Hit the button, all that stuff, subscribe, all that good junk. And for your second listen today, make sure you go and check out the Locked On Bets podcast. Win yourself some money. Your boy Q, handicapping expert Lee Sterling, they've got you covered. And as always, y'all, I appreciate you so much for making me a part of your day. You can always follow along with everything else you need around the New Orleans Saints between these episodes on Twitter at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you're living. Let me know how you're momming them. And trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.